It was 2 days before Christmas on the island of Sodor. It had been a warmer than average winter, and so far there had been no snow. That morning in the sheds, the engines were discussing the weather. "Oh, I wish it would snow soon," said Percy. "It just wouldn't be Christmas without some snow." Thomas didn't quite agree. "Snow is pretty to look at and all," he replied, "but it piles up and causes trouble. Besides, snow means having to wear that awful plow." "Thomas is right," added James. "Snow is an awful nuisance. A year without snow is a year without problems." And he huffed away. Later that day, James arrived at the station to collect his passengers. His driver picked up a newspaper from the station stand. "Well, you're not going to like this." "What?" James muttered. His driver read from the newspaper. "The blizzard will come in tonight, and the snow should stick around through Christmas and into the new year. Near negative temperatures expected." "Pah! We've gone this long without this silly stuff. I think we can go without it. It's a bunch of rubbish if you ask me." "Well, there's nothing you can do about Mother Nature. Best to get over it," said the fireman. Soon the guard blew the whistle and James was off. He grumbled all the way down the line until he reached Edward's station. When he arrived, he found Duck already wearing his snowplow. "You should be careful," advised Duck. "The snow doesn't play around and neither should you. Best to get your plow on early." "Stuff and nonsense," James replied. He looked at the thermometer on the station wall. "It's well over 60 degrees. Not exactly blizzard weather." "It's best to be prepared," said Duck. "You don't want to get stranded." "Worry about your own self. I haven't gotten stuck yet and I don't plan on it." That night, the weather did arrive, but James was right about the temperature. It rained hard. There was no snow, but it was cold enough for some sleet. As rain dropped, it froze where it landed. Everything was a vast winter wonderland of icicles. The engines had a hard time starting work. "How could anyone want this over snow?" Percy shivered. "It's a slippery mess." "Well, at least it doesn't block the line. It's a tad slippery, but I can manage. You're just being ridiculous, Percy. Now, get on with your work." All day, the engines worked hard pulling their Christmas Eve trains. But as the day went on, it only seemed to get colder, and the ice wasn't going anywhere. That evening, most of the engines had finished their work and had made their way to the station for the annual carol party. All except James. It was after dark as he was delivering his last goods train. As he rushed down the line, he could see a red signal in the distance. He tried to slow down gradually, but he found himself only going faster as his wheels spun around on the ice. "I've got to stop!" he cried, but he raced right through the signal. Disaster lay everywhere. James had remained upright, but he and all his cars had come off the rails. His driver and fireman climbed down. "There's nothing that can be done now," said the driver. "We'll have to get you out in the morning." "The morning?" spluttered James. "Sorry, it's Christmas Eve. All the stations are closed now. The other engines are back at the sheds and the men have all gone home." "And that's where we're going," said the driver. "We've got families to see this Christmas. You can manage one night." James was fuming. As time passed, it got colder and colder. Soon he saw something falling from the sky. First one snowflake, then two, then three, then hundreds. The blizzard had arrived late, and the night before was only a little downpour of rain. The snow started light and fell heavier and heavier throughout the night. "What a way to spend a Christmas," moaned James as the snow piled on him. It wasn't long until he was completely invisible. On Christmas morning, James's crew arrived with Duck in the breakdown train, but James and his train were nowhere to be seen. Sitting where James was a thick bank of snow. A mumbled shouting could be heard from the inside. "Well, it's James's shape," said Duck, "but James isn't white all over." It took some time, but soon James was free and was craned back onto the rails. "What's the matter, James? I thought a little ice was nothing you couldn't handle." The ice wasn't my problem," shivered James. He was so cold his face was as blue as the sky. When the others saw James, they could only laugh. "Looks like Jack Frost struck again," laughed Thomas. "It would seem little James had a blue, blue, blue Christmas," sang Gordon. But Percy started feeling a little sorry for James. "Come on now, it's Christmas. Let's celebrate together." "Percy's right," replied Duck. And the engine spent the rest of the day singing carols in their nice warm shed. As for James, he eventually warmed up, but he now knew ice wasn't so nice.